Hi everyone, my name is Adele, and I want to tell you about how I was once kidnapped. It was a real kidnapping where I went through a lot of stress and fear. Basically, everything happened like this. My sister Rosie and I weren't always close. At first, our relationship was more like a kind of war. We shared a room and things. Rosie thought she was our parents' favorite, and I felt the same way about myself. Since Rosie was a few years older than me, she eventually grew up and left home. She had a fight with our parents after a night out. My mother said Rosie had always been a model child but was so negatively affected by her bad surroundings and a guy named Sean. I never saw him once, but I knew him and my sister were messing around. From the amount of time she regularly spent on her phone, it was obvious. So there she was, done. She packed her bags and got the hell out of the house. My father and mother were furious, to say the least. You know what the worst part of it was? That the consequences of my sister's stupidity directly affected me. After about 6 months, when my parents had cooled off, summer came around, and it was time for vacation, and with it, the opportunity to hang out with friends. Mom, Ashley's having a birthday party tonight. Can I go for a couple of hours? No. How come? You used to let me go every year. You know we're friends. I know, but what if you're lying to me? What if you don't go to her house? Well, call her. You can check with her mom. And what if you go somewhere afterward? What? Mom, what's this nonsense? We hang out at our house every year. Well, who's going to be there? All the people we know. Her relatives and our classmates. No. Still no. You used to let me go, even when I was younger. Exactly. You were younger, and now you're not. So what? Now because of my age, you'll keep me locked up? I don't want you to follow in Rosie's footsteps. Mom, are we talking about her again? That was her choice. It's not to say that I have the exact same opinion. Who knows? She was a great kid in school, such an obedient girl, such a good kid. So now she's a bad girl just because she made one bad choice? Are you defending her? Yes, I'm defending her, Mom. I just want to go and visit my friend. The gift is ready and everything. Give it to her some other time. The topic is closed. What? My mom wouldn't even listen. She just left and slammed the door behind her. I was filled with anger, but I still couldn't do anything. And then, the classics of the genre. My folks were asleep, so I ran out of the house and hitchhiked to my friend's house. Ashley was looking forward to seeing me, and I was happy to see her too. We lost track of time. Why are you so stressed out? It's because of Rosie. Are your parents projecting on you again? Yeah, I'm sick of it. You'd think if it was that bad out there, she'd come back. She's selfish, and you're jealous of her, aren't you? Even though we were never close, yes, I envy her. She found the courage to rub it in the nose of her controlling parents. I probably couldn't do that. You probably could. It just takes the right timing. She had the motivation, and you don't have it yet. Maybe you're right. We were sitting there chatting happily amidst the noise and the hubbub, and then, through the crowd, I heard a familiar voice. Adele, where are you? I know you're here. Oh my goodness, it's Mom, I told Ashley. We both got up from the couch, the music turned off, and everyone was staring at me and her. My mom grabbed my arm in front of everyone and threw my purse on and led me away like a dog. I heard taunts. It was disgusting. She forcefully put me in the car, and I couldn't stand it. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. What? Embarrassed you? How dare you? You left in the middle of the night without my or your father's permission. I got up and you weren't there. What's that supposed to mean? Do you want to end up like your sister? Stop it, Mom. Stop talking about her like she's trash. I don't share her opinion, but now I understand exactly why she wanted to run away. What did you say? You're grounded, young lady. Get it? No more going out and partying from now on. I went into the house and wanted to complain to my father, but I remembered in time that him and my mother were on the same side. I found my sister online and wrote her a long message saying that she had made me a prisoner. I don't know what I hoped for, but she never responded. But then things got even worse. A couple of days later, my parents invited me to dinner at a cafe, which was weird because we didn't usually go out together. Well, when I got there, another family was sitting there. Some guy, a woman, and their son. At first, we were introduced. I felt like I didn't understand what was going on, and then at the end of the night, the father and mother announced to me that I was marrying this Derek guy that I had been introduced to. That was it. I exploded. What? What did you say? Well, it's a decent family. His father is my colleague, and I've known him for a long time. His son is a good boy. And it's a profitable wedding. It's good for them and for us. Are you trying to sell me like a cow? You want to have a pity party? Go have a pity party with your husband. Oh, so you've decided to relieve yourself of responsibility? That's convenient. Don't be rude. We'd rather take care of it now than… Then what? Until I'm like Rosie and Bale? Maybe she did the right thing. At least she isn't part of the madhouse going on now. Enough. The wedding is in a month. Tomorrow we start preparations. I haven't even finished high school. We'll get you engaged and we'll wait until you come of age. We'll do it in church. The pastor said it was okay. I couldn't believe it. I whined all night in bed. I felt so bad that I didn't know what to do with myself. I texted Rosie again with lots of emotion and accusations. I hated her for ditching all of us, and now I was cleaning up the mess for her. I don't even know this Derek guy. How could I marry him? How dare they treat me like this? Against my will, wedding preparations were in full swing. I took all kinds of protests, hunger strikes, silence, even threatened to run away once. But my parents didn't take it seriously because they were controlling me. And they knew that. So the wedding day came around. I was put in a white dress that I hated. A driver was to drive me to the church. I stood at home in front of the mirror and cried. The makeup artist kept correcting my makeup. Then I got a call from a number I didn't know. Hello? Where are you? Rosie? Is that you? Yes, not much time. Where are you? I'm at home. I'm going to my wedding. Get in the black Mercedes when you get out. Why? What's going on? Just do as I say. She hung up on me, and I left the house. The chauffeur opened the door for me, but I immediately ran towards the black Merc and got in. There was a guy inside driving it. It was Sean, and Rosie was sitting next to him. The car roared away. What? What's going on? I'm stealing you. What? You said you didn't want to get married, that our parents were pressuring you, so here I am. What, you're kidnapping me? That's one way to put it. Do you realize our parents will kill you? Marrying off an underage daughter without her consent is a real violation of the law. I could barely wait till I was legal age to get away from them. But why? Mom said you were an excellent student. Yeah, that's what she told me about you. What? That's what I'm saying. Our parents are weirdos. They poisoned us against each other so they could marry us off. You don't think I've been through that? What do you mean? I was supposed to get married too, right after I told you that Sean proposed to me. I didn't know. Of course you didn't know. Did they tell you he was a drug addict or a gangster? Both. Which further confirms my theory of their schizophrenia. So where are we going? To our house? We skipped town, took a long drive. My phone was ringing off the hook. Rosie picked up the phone and said she would keep an eye on me. My parents were furious, but Rosie then threw my phone out the window. She said she couldn't answer my messages initially because it would be a crazy risk, but as soon as she saw that I was going to get married, she had second thoughts. They took me out from that crazy town. I stayed with them. I thought Sean was poor, unemployed, but he turns out to be quite wealthy. He has his own house where Rosie is happy. What do we do now? Let's wait for them to cool down, then we'll figure it out. So we don't have a plan yet, but I'm definitely glad my sister stole me away from my wedding.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adele. Please tell me what happiness means to you. True, everyone has their own. Money, love, friendship, family. I've always wanted parental attention. I understood that they need to work, so they do not have time for me. But I was already losing the sense of need in my family and so went to extreme measures. So, when I was very young, our family went through a very difficult period because we were poor. Both my parents were born and raised in ordinary families. They never had any connections or money. They married for great love. And then I was born. The situation worsened even more. My mother told me that once she even saw how my father wanted to commit suicide. she saw him put a noose around his neck. She called out to him and he seemed to come to himself, saw his daughter, that is me, and gave up this idea. Although my father denies this point, referring to the rich fantasy of his wife. That terrible moment cut into my mother's mind, and she decided to take drastic measures. She collected all the family savings, got into debt, and at her own risk invested the money in a small business. Unexpectedly for them, everything worked out. Gradually, the business began to grow more and more, and the revenue grew accordingly. A few years later, we bought a big house, 2 cars, a couple of apartments. My parents were proud that they had achieved everything themselves, and it really deserved respect. In the end, the money and work involved them to such an extent that they began to disappear on business until late in the evening and early in the morning. I had a babysitter a long time ago. She did send me to school, did my homework, read a book at night. Of course, I had everything I ever wanted. Rollers, expensive dolls, sweets, toys, dresses, but none of this could replace the most valuable thing. My parents, or rather their presence in my life. You know, it got to the point where we stopped seeing each other. If they had even come into my room to kiss me before, then that too had disappeared. But they didn't know that I sometimes waited until 4 a.m. for that kiss. And once on a weekend, when my parents were again in a hurry drinking coffee, while simultaneously reading the economic news from the newspaper, I stared at the robots, their suits perfectly pressed, their hair perfectly coiffed, their perfume expensive. They stared at the newspapers and kept talking about the economy. Our staff poured hot drinks with caffeine, and they didn't even look at them or at me. I took a deep breath at the table, but they didn't look at me. Then I coughed violently several times. "Yes, honey, are you all right?" my mother asked, also without taking her eyes off the newspaper. "Louisa, bring her some water," my mother said to the servants. "Mom, Dad, I have a suggestion for you," I said. I knew how to attract their attention with the keywords offer, conditions, money, business, job. They were always distracted by them. "This weekend is my birthday. Can we go somewhere together? For example, to our country house? We'll just hang there and have a barbecue and make cheeseburgers, huh?" "Sorry, honey, but we have to work. We have a lot to do. Can you choose something for yourself? Dad and I can buy you a new toy or a phone or a dress. What do you want?" she asked. My mood instantly dropped, and I was so angry with them that I wanted to explode. Is there anything more important than me? Why are they acting like this? "You can't buy what I want," I muttered and left. I cried pretty hard in my room that night. I wanted so much to attract their attention, but it was all in vain. I got a call from my friend Stacy. She, unlike me, was not born and raised in a rich family, and she only had a mother, but she was an incredibly smart and brave girl. Stacy told me to come up with a plan. "Look, it's no use talking to her parents, so you should do something to get them to pay attention to you. Since your situation has been running for a long time, you need to take drastic measures. Are you ready?" she asked me. I agreed without delay. On the weekend, on my birthday, my parents came to my room in the morning, kissed me, left a gift, money, and left. I told them I'd be hanging out with Stacy all day, and they agreed. My friend and I met, bought bus tickets, and went to a nearby neighborhood. I was very worried because I didn't know how my mom and dad would react, or what they would do, or if they would even look for me. Anyway, Stacy and I spent the whole day together in a strange neighborhood. Thanks to the gift of money, we bought and ate whatever we wanted all day, and in the evening, I rented a room in a cheap motel. Thank you, Stacy, for telling me that such services exist. We were going to spend the night there. Stacy's mom often worked night shifts, so no one was looking for her, and neither was I yet. The babysitter called me several times during the day. So as not to cause a panic before the time, I picked up the phone and said that everything was fine, and later in the evening, I began to ignore all calls. Towards midnight, my mother called me once, and that was it. This disappointed me even more. Just one call? I don't deserve more than that? Then my father called once, and all. Then I decided to act. Stacy, on some program, recorded a voice message to my parents that their child was kidnapped, and if they want to see me alive, they must bring $500,000 to the specified place tomorrow morning, also warning them not to go to the police. She played the message into the phone, gave the address, and hung up. I don't know what they felt at that moment, if they felt anything at all. I didn't sleep all night. I thought they would just give up on me and that's it. I get home, open the door, and they're sitting at the table in their iron suits, drinking coffee, staring at the newspapers. The next morning, Stacy and I arrived early and hid with binoculars. My heart had been pounding for 2 days and I couldn't control my nerves. At about 7 o'clock, I saw my father's car pull up. Oh no, it was the first time I'd ever seen him so exhausted. His eyes were swollen and red, and he looked older. It's like he'd aged 20 years in one night. My mother was sitting next to him in the car, constantly wiping her face with a napkin. She wasn't wearing makeup or a hairdo. They were both in yesterday's clothes. At some point, I was shaken by what I saw. What have I done? It flashed through my mind. Why did I go to such extreme measures? I felt sorry for my parents. I told Stacy I couldn't do it anymore and I had to admit it. We were about to get out of the place where we were hiding, but I accidentally tripped over a trash can and fell down with a crash. At that moment, the police swooped down on us. They twisted our arms, immediately blocking the road. I screamed that my name was Adele and that I was the missing girl. No one heard me. Stacy and I were really scared. I thought we were going to be arrested or shot by mistake. My mother came running to me through the crowd of policemen. She forcibly shoved everyone who was twisting my arms. "This is my daughter! Get your hands off her!" she screamed. Her and Dad picked me up. I was all tearful with fear and regret and begged for forgiveness. The police stood there in disbelief and did not understand what was happening. I shouted that I loved my parents and they would forgive me. My mom and Dad hugged me tight. They probably didn't even hear me. The three of us sat on the muddy ground with our arms around each other, among a bunch of policemen, and talked about how much we loved each other. Of course, I later had to report for the incident. My parents paid the fine. We had a long conversation after that. I once again apologized for such extreme measures. Sorry, this is our omission. I promise that we will pay more attention to you in the future. We love you very much. This is all for you, my parents said before going to bed and kissed me. It was the best moment of my life. Now I know for sure that my parents care about me.